Foggit is a high-performance fogging oil designed especially for internal combustion engines. Foggit can be used by everyone. If you have a lawnmower, a jet ski, a motorcycle, a tractor, a high-performance car, a classic car, racing vehicles, if it has a cylinder wall, it needs Foggit.
The number one source of friction in your engine is not what you think. Piston rings rubbing against the cylinder walls generate more friction than any other part of the engine. More friction and temperature means more wear and less horsepower. Fortunately, the team at Total Seal knows how to reduce friction and wear through innovative piston ring design. If it takes a piston, Total Seal can build a better ring.
This is WFO Radio.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to another edition of WFO Radio. I'm Joe Castello, and those of you watching on the interwebs around the world and PowerTube TV and our WFO Power Block, welcome to you as well. We got a great show for you. The 4-wide mini season is over in the National Hot Rod Association, Vegas and ZMAX and Charlotte. Back to back, what a race it was. Amazing stuff. Justin Ashley picks up the win in Top Fuel. Matt Hagan gets on the board in 2024 in Funny Car. Greg Anderson becomes the first two-time winner in Pro Stock. And Gaige Herrera becomes the first two-time winner in Pro Stock Motorcycle, as in 2 for 2. On this show, the voice of the National Hot Rod Association will join me. I'm talking about Alan Reinhardt, as he does each week here on WFO Radio, going back to our days on satellite in 2005. And we are coming up on 2025. It has been pretty amazing, the run we have had nationwide, worldwide, talking NHRA drag racing. Super exciting. And on the show, Greg Anderson, the Pro Stock winner, HendrickCars.com. All the controversy, the intake manifolds, the safety switch, all of it, he brushed it off and goes out there and gets the win. That is an amazing accomplishment. We're going to speak with GA about all of it on this show and talk a little bit about it. You know, is it time to move past that whole Pro Stock manifold rules change discussion? We're going to get his take. I'm going to talk about the round by round. And Gaige Herrera going to be on the show as well tomorrow, Wednesday. And that is all depending on when you're watching WFO Radio. We will have Matt Hagan and Justin Ashley, 12 noon Eastern time. For those of you that like to watch the live show on YouTube, on X, on the Friend Book, whoever, however you like to watch WFO Radio, 12 noon Wednesday. Hagan, Justin, going to be great. Going to talk a little bit about Tony Stewart with Matt Hagan and what difference he is making to the world champion in Funny Car. And believe it or not, Hagan told me, he goes, I haven't been on your show in like a year. I was like, you're right. But he has won his way on, and we'll get to that. So share the show, especially those of you watching on X. I've had a big audience out there in X since they are posting all the live programming and highlighting who's live at whatever time. If you follow WFO Radio, thank you. We greatly appreciate that. We had an awesome Ignition show that recorded last night. It's up for the Patreons. It's great stuff, and having a lot of things that talked about behind the scenes, like our great friend Sue Morris. All right, so first off, everyone is always asking me about merch, Joe, merch. And we have our great TeePublic store with coffee mugs and everything, the Morris Motorsports gear. But I really only like to promote it when things are on sale. Why do I do that? Well, I want to save you guys a little bit of money. If you want WFO gear, they have sales so often that for me, it's worthwhile just waiting, and you can get a t-shirt for $16. That's happening right now. Up to 35% off. I just dropped the link in the chat section. So if you want a WFO shirt, if you want the FIA t-shirt, if you want Morris Motorsports, if you want one round at a time, all kinds of good stuff on there. The retro Miami Hollywood and Palm Beach International Raceway OG retro tracks that no longer exist shirts. You can find it in our TeePublic store, and super excited about all of that. That we, keep on going and growing and moving on here in the WFO Radio universe. Now, at the start of the show, I already told you a little bit about the folks at Foggit and told you a little bit about the folks at Total Seal Piston Rings. Do want to tell you about the folks at FTI Performance Transmissions and Torque Converters. Look, here's the deal. We do have sponsors. We do have ads. These people genuinely make it possible for me to chase drag racers around all week long and talk about and live almost exclusively in the world of NHRA Mission Foods drag racing. And you think about Paul Lee and what he has done for Drivelines. And boy, that team is really coming around. But when it comes to your street machine, maybe you need a torque converter, your bracket car, maybe you want a better shot of getting to the winner's circle, FTIperformance.com is where you want to go. And that will be the Power Glide transmission that we put in the Project Pontiac Super Street car when it gets back on track. FTIperformance.com. Check them out and let them know that you heard about it on WFO Radio. Next week on the show, we are working on getting Randy Neal from CWT Industries on. You ever wonder about balance machines, why it's important, what it means to high performance in your racing engine? If it rotates, it can be balanced. These new machines, touch screen, very intuitive, work quicker, work better, work faster, require, I don't want to say less training, but different training. Randy's going to come on the show in the future, but all you have to do is go to the website, cwtindustries.com, to find out more information. And you'll realize whether it be a Caterpillar, 3500 Earth Mover down there in the mines, whether we're talking about boats, whether we're talking about turbochargers, whether we're talking about your classic small block Chevrolet, CWT Industries, they make balancers. And if you've got an old balancer in your machine shop and you're thinking about how can we be more efficient and make money, this is a perfect way to do it. cwtindustries.com. Reach out to them or reach out to me, and I will make a personal connection for you. Our great friends at Bernie Speed Shop. Bernie's in Ocala, Florida. We were out there at the start of the season. Josh Hart really coming around. It just takes laps. They're getting there, but it's not going to happen overnight. Josh is really great on the starting line. He's got a good program going on there at Bernie's. Classic muscle cars for sale. Maybe you're looking to buy, maybe you're looking to sell. They sell on consignment. So if you're thinking, how can I sell my car for the most amount of money and target the people who want it, that's what they do. They do frame off restorations. They do it all when it comes to automotive motorsports, and they sell e-bikes. So next time you're thinking about buying or selling, think Bernie's, BRNYZZ.com. That is Bernie's Speed Shop. And we are super excited to have them on board, as we are Total Seal Piston Rings. Tough road right now for Matt Hartford and the Total Seal team. And so what I'm going to say is, like, you can't have a comeback story without having a tough go of it. So we'll see how they do in the next couple of weeks. And I have a feeling a big comeback is right around the corner. One thing you know is that they unlock the hidden horsepower in your engine. TotalSeal.com. Whether you're building a bracket engine or a street engine or a high-performance racing engine for your Formula One race car, they do that too. Oh, yes, Formula One coming to Miami this week. TotalSeal.com. Check out the Hidden Horsepower podcast. And one that might be in the news is the Keith Wilson Manifolds episode on YouTube, on Apple Podcasts. You heard Keith Wilson's name, Wilson Manifolds, a lot this past weekend. We're going to talk about that with Reinhardt. Might as well go hear from the man himself at the Hidden Horsepower podcast feed, TotalSeal.com. And, of course, our great friends at Phil-Connect.com, smart trailer technology. Later on in the show, we'll tell you about Frank Hawley's drag racing school. We'll tell you about Sam Tech, Frank Hawley, and, of course, our great friend Marvin Rodak. But right now, it's time to bring on the voice of the National Hot Rod Association. I'm sure he's already re-X'd the show to bring in that big Reinhardt audience. This guy's got like thousands and thousands of followers for his Zero Dark 30 tweets. Let's bring him on. Alan Reinhardt. What's up, AR? How are you?
Well, let's just put it like this. I'm glad I didn't have a Zero Dark 30 this morning, because I would have missed it. I would have been like nowhere near after flying out. And I didn't fly out of Charlotte as early as I normally would have flown out. But when I left Charlotte fairly early, which, 3-hour time change and all that, by the time I got home and blah, 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 last night I was whooped. So when I went to bed, I thought, you know what, I'll just get up whenever I get up.
Well, exactly. And
looks light outside. That's different.
I went home Sunday night for the first time ever. I know we're talking travel, and we could definitely do a travel show for all those travel people out there. Miles and best takes. I got an upgrade. I went straight to the airport. I sat in the Admirals Club. I enjoyed their new signature beverage, and then got on a plane. I was in bed at 11 o'clock on Sunday night. An alien experience. It was crazy, but I loved it. I had all day on Monday to, book guests and make sure Justin Ashley is going to be here on Wednesday, and he is.
Well, see, that's why I always take the Zero Dark 30s, because I really feel like I steal a whole day. Even traveling west to east, when I leave here and I know I'm going to be landing 3 hours later, but if I can get it at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, or if I can get it at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, then I still have part of the day to do something with. And then I can still, get a decent night's sleep and get up and be ready to go. If I fly out in the afternoon, and I've tried everything over the years, believe me. You get to the hotel at 11:30. and then you get up the next morning, and I just always feel like I'm a little bit behind. So coming home is the same way. If I can get up and get out early, I gain the time coming home. There's times when I'll leave the racetrack, I'll leave wherever we are at 6 a.m. and I land 8:30 or 9 a.m. Arizona time, and I really feel like I've stolen a whole day. So that's, there really is a reason behind those early flights. They make a lot more sense when you land than they do when the alarm goes off. But, the backside of it. And yeah, see, now that the, Sunday travel home deal, all you need is a jet. And then as soon as you're ready to go, you go.
I know. We got to work that in the deal the next time, and it's going good. Okay, before we get to all the racing action, and there's a whole lot, and Greg Anderson is scheduled to join us, and so is Gaige Herrera. They both dealing with various social media and reality-generated controversies. There are a lot of questions in the chat section. I wanted to give you the opportunity to answer. Everyone was asking me all weekend long, got a lot of positive compliments on your top-end work. It's like Reinhardt did that for 20 years. That's his wheelhouse. I was saying you wanted to get back to your roots. You wanted to get out and meet the drivers. You wanted to just switch it up, take a vacation from yourself, like in Seinfeld, where they all grew mustaches. Since you already have a mustache, you went to the top end of the racetrack. But I want to let you answer for yourself so that everybody knows, what was up with that. I was in the booth. Galvin did a great job in the booth. You did a great job on the top end. We just kind of shook it up. Why?
Well, the reality is I have a crush on Amanda Busick, and I wanted an opportunity to spend some time with her where, it wouldn't look like it was staged or anything, that it would just be kind of a coincidental thing. So, I could proclaim my undying love and hopefully, win the fair maiden's heart, only to find out Bruno was down there all weekend. So I spent, most of it crying in my beer.
Yes.
Which I was going to have anyway. But no, the reality is we just decided to shake things up a little bit. I mean, and I got a number of announcer emails saying that without ever being in the booth during the pros to say, hey, send me an email. I got a number of announcer emails that said, hey, it's like the universe is spinning backwards. But no, we, every once in a while, why not, right? Just shake things up. Everybody move around a little bit. It'd been a long time since I had done the top end stuff. I know that both you and Galvin had a shot to do some stuff in the booth last year in Chicago when I was out. But I think, one, it was really nice to get back down there and get in the middle of it again, because it had been a long time since I saw it. Two, I don't think there's any downside whatsoever to having both you and Galvin get a little experience in the booth, because, right, who knows, a canceled flight, a thing is something that I think you just feel a little bit more comfortable if you've got a little bit, if you've been there before instead of being thrown into the fire. And I also think that part of it being the four wide experience, if you can master the four wide experience, then two wide will be easy. If you have to fill in sometime or something happened, but there's no big conspiracy. I'm not quitting. I'm not, this isn't the transition. We just shook things up a little bit this weekend. And I, for one, really enjoyed being in that role for the weekend. And I'm looking forward to get back into the booth in Chicago.
Exactly. No, very exciting. Monica says she loved it. Stephen Frisk says she loved it. Mike Ashley's out there. You interviewed him while he was running Pro Mod way back in the day as a dinosaur. He called you guys both fossils. Not true for either of you. Age is just a number, and you're both mentally youthful, which is great. But listen, speaking of someone who's youthful, let's bring on our guest before we get too far into it, right? Like every second this guy is connected, we got to get him on the show. Ladies and gentlemen, your pro stock winner, his 105th of his career, Mr. Greg Anderson. What's up, Greg?
Hi, Joe. Hi, on.
Hello.
Greg, how are you?
I'm pretty good. Pretty good. Riding a wave,
Yeah. All right. What did Mr. H get you? It was like he's going to sweeten the deal. He told us in the media center. What's it? What was the sweetener?
Let me just tell you, he's a good motivator.
Can you share?
He made a little promise in the morning, a little bonus on the line if I could get the job done that day, and that definitely seems to spark me. I told everybody I need some way to start my heart some days, and that definitely does it for me. So he knows exactly what right buttons to push, and he did, and I responded, and we got the job done. So it's just a great day.
Okay, so I noticed an answer, non-answer right there. I guess it's private.
Politician.
I guess it's private. I would vote for you, Greg. That was good.
I want it to happen again, Joe.
Okay, that's a good answer.
Curious, Greg, did you pay any attention to, and did you know while you were doing what you were doing, Kyle Larson was having a pretty darn good day at Dover as well. He ended up finishing second, And when I was watching the end of the race after your guys were finished, he's trying to close in on Denny Hamlin. And I legitimately was sitting there wondering, I wonder if Greg has to split his prize if Kyle Larson wins too. I mean, what kind of deal did Rick make with him?
Well, it was going to be a huge day, and we talked about that. I talked to Rick right at the finish line when we won, and I asked him, because I hadn't been able to turn the TV on yet during the day and watch myself. So I asked him, and he said they were all doing great. He was running second, and I think Byron was running third, and maybe one of the other cars was fourth or fifth. So they had a great shot. They weren't leading, but they were second, third, and fourth. So he was hoping for a big finish. So it was looking like it might be a huge day for him. He still had a great day, but the Cup guys just missed by one, and they've been holding the flag all year. So it's not like they're not holding their own. It's not like they're not carrying the flag. They've been doing a great job. So it's a great organization to be a part of. Let me just put it that way. Fantastic.
Now they had some big bigs out there from HendrickCars.com for the Brittany Force announcement, and John had some great things. You've been flying the flag for a few years. First two-time Pro Stock winner this year. It's been brutal out there. Just the grouping of all the cars, the fact that we've got way more than 16, a lot of rules changes to get into. But you outraced them in Arizona. You said that. How would you characterize this win?
I think this one we did both, Joe. This is one of those races that you dream about, that you kind of outperform them. I wouldn't say outdrive them, but at least I held my own on the driving end of it. And as far as the tuning of the race car, I think they outtuned them. So 2 of the 3 ingredients, I think we definitely dominated. The other one, I as a driver, I probably broke even. And between those 3 ingredients, when you get a combination like that, you're pretty good. So turned out to be a great day and proud day. I love that racetrack. It's a great racetrack for us. We've definitely learned how to race that place. And then you get the extra motivation with, the Hendrick group out there and all the local family and friends and neighbors and everything. It just doesn't get any better than that. That's what it's all about. And as they say, timing is everything. And the timing was perfect for a win this weekend.
Greg, I know that you don't focus necessarily on the past and accomplishments and records and various things. You're always looking forward, right? The next race, the next championship, the next win. I think we can pretty much all agree that you're not going to catch John Force in wins. But you are in a position now to catch Dan Fletcher and potentially take over second all-time on the win list. Is that anything that's on your radar, or do you even pay attention to that? I know you and Dan for a number of years were Summit teammates.
No, and that's great, and I'm damn proud of Dan. He's done fantastic. And what is his number right now? I don't even know what his number is. So, no, I haven't paid attention to it.
He's 107, and he actually went to the semifinals in both last week and then ended up coming home empty.
What about Manzo, Alan? What about Manzo? Where's Manzo? Isn't Manzo like
Manzo's 105, I think.
Only 105? Okay.
Only, right?
I don't think about that. Obviously, that would be cool, but that's definitely not the goal. The goal is to go next week and find a way to win that race. That's the goal. I live for the moment. Never know when you're going to have to stop. You're going to have to step out of the car. Something could happen. So I live for that very next race. I can't plan years down the road. These days it's just it's too iffy. So I'm going to keep digging as hard as I can and keep trying to get that next one. And I guess the next one would be 106. So that's my new favorite number.
Yeah, that's amazing. So the whole manifold thing, right? I know we talked about it in the media center, but that was kind of to a tight group of insiders at the end. And you put what I would call a period on it there. And it sounds like you're ready to move beyond this story. I would like to do that here for the public and the WFO universe, and so that they can understand. You've won now 2 out of the 5 races. You've set low ET. You've had a quick and fast hot rod. Is that story over in your mind? I do have a follow-up, but just walk us through where it is. I know there was a meeting, all those things. You don't like it, but you're obviously dealing with it.
Yeah, that's all we can do is move forward, Joe. I've certainly spoke my piece pretty much every day, and every weekend, every race weekend that I go to, I speak my piece, and the tech guys certainly know my feelings on the deal. I can't change their thoughts. I can't change their wishes. Their wishes are basically for everybody to have the same parts and have the same things on their race cars, and everyone be able to know and see what the other racer does. That kills me. That just absolutely kills me. I take a lot of pride in what we do here. We build 90% of the things that go on our race car, we build in-house. I don't necessarily care for some of the other racers that I'm competing against to necessarily see what we do. And it's just it's too tough a business. It's too cutthroat. I have 20 employees here that their lives are supported through this race team. And that's my job, to find a way to build a better mousetrap than the next guy out there, because that's how they make their living. That's how I make my living. So it's no different across the country in Oklahoma. They look at it the same exact way. So we're all fighting for every piece of meat we can get off the bone, and every inch we can get every day. And we don't necessarily care to just open our window to everybody out there and show everybody what we do, because as soon as you do that, whatever minute advantage you might have found this week, it's gone. So it's just the way pro stock, I think, in my opinion, should be. It's what it always was. That's why I had gravitated to the class. That's why a lot of people have come to pro stock, because it was kind of the last class that you could, use your ingenuity, use your creativity, and basically anything you could dream up overnight to build, you could build and put on your race car the next day. And that's what I loved about it. That's why we got into it. And as years go by, some of those options are going away. That hurts me and it kills me, but I don't have a choice. I have to play the game what it is today. And no matter what changes I have to, if I want to still race, which I do, I have to go with the flow and make changes. So bottom line is that, yeah, as you said, is it over? No, I don't guess it's over. I'm going to keep voicing my opinion, because that's the way I really think pro stock should be. And I have a lot of teammates. I have 8 cars total that we basically run under our umbrella here now at KB Titan. And 2 or 3 of the teams they're struggling with finding a tune-up with their engine. And, basically we had 8 years of tuning gone into what we had, all of us as team members here. And January 1st had to basically flush it all down the toilet and start over. So fair or not fair, whatever you want to call it, we had to start over. And it's been an uphill challenge. And I'm gaining on it with a few of the race cars. My car, for whatever reason, has so far been able to be the most consistent and have a chance to tune on it race to race. The rest of them are just very inconsistent. They don't make back-to-back runs, and it are just very difficult to tune. So we'll just keep chipping at it, and we'll still voice our opinion, but we can't sit and whine about it. We can't sit and cry about it. We'll just go and lose races if we do that. So got to find a new way. Got to find a new way to go forward. And that's what we're going to do. So been a lot of work gone in so far at the beginning of the year, but that's okay. Hard work never killed anybody. So I'm fine with that. We'll keep digging and hopefully get the rest of our team cars up to speed with where mine's at.
Alan?
I thought you said you had a follow-up, Joe. You mentioned, Greg, your car. Dave Conley was out there this weekend in your new car, shaking it down, making some runs. Looked like it ran okay. Had a problem, obviously, in first round and wasn't able to advance there. Are you going back into that car now, or was that just an experiment for the weekend? I mean, I know you don't do anything without some kind of a reason. What was the reason?
That's the main reason we ran that car this weekend, Alan. The plan is to go into that new car starting at Chicago, and I wanted to get some race time laps on it. And we can still go rent racetracks wherever we want around the country and test, but it's very, very difficult, basically impossible to duplicate race conditions like we see at a national event. We end up following Top Fuel and Funny Cars sometimes we go before them. We can't duplicate that when we go test. So I just wanted to get some runs on it in real race conditions, and it's not quite 100% where we need it to be yet. We're obviously going to keep chipping and keep digging with it, but that's the reason I ran Dave Conley this weekend, to get some more laps on that car. So hopefully it was closer to ready for when I go to Chicago. So that is the plan as of today. Unless something changes, we're probably going to be in that new car come Chicago. And hopefully we've got a better handle on it than we showed this weekend.
Excellent.
I have to tell you, Joe, let me just jump in real quick. I have to tell you, I ran into a fan a Sunday night after the race was over. I went to have a beer and a pair of wings and unwind a little bit. I ran into a fan that was so pissed off. He said, you cheated. And he couldn't figure out why they let you get away with it. It was so obvious that you lost first round, and then you came back and raced again and won the race. And he said, that's just not right. And I said, what are you talking about? And he said, no. I said, he's got 2 cars. No, he doesn't. He's always had one. I said, no, there was a new car. And trying to convince this guy that, no, Greg didn't jump the start and then come back and get back in the race. It's like, I promise you, there was a second car out there. Go back and watch it again. But
it's kind of funny you said that because Mr. Hendrick, that was the first thing he thought. He saw that car go down the track first. Dave was first pair, and he saw it didn't make it out the starting line. I was like, oh my God, he lost first round. And then I came up in the last pair, I guess. So he's like, well, what the world here? I guess he's still okay. So yeah, Mr. Hendrick thought the same thing. First time he thought I lost first pair out.
He thought he was off the hook. I think that's hilarious. By the way, Frank Manzo 104.
104. Excellent. And thank you for that. I know Frank was so there's a cluster, obviously. And what's Fletcher? Do you have that one too, Alan? He's 106? 107.
Yeah, 107.
Wow, Greg, you're getting close to second behind Ford.
Tighter than I thought.
Yeah. You never know.
Well, I'm quite sure that Dan Fletcher's not done yet either. So
he almost won 2.
Yeah, but he's not taking as many cracks at the tree as you are these days. So I think you've got an opportunity in front of you.
Definitely. So let me ask you about the whole, just so we can clear the air. There were a couple of things. Lonnie Grimm was on last week. We did ask the tech director. I was accused of giving him a softball interview. That's okay. We got to warm into the deal. But he said there would be a new era of transparency in the National Hot Rod Association with the tech department. And we experienced it this week, putting out Tasca, Manifold, this is what it is, public, social media. I had one of our media people come in while I was on the microphone and tell us about your, safety system deal. And the thought was to announce it to the world. And honestly, I had a little moment of, are we doing this now? You know what I mean? Like, this is a kind of a new thing. These kind of penalties or moments with the tech department were always like a behind the scenes kind of thing. And it seems like now in 2024, they just want to put it out there in the public. You guys had trouble starting the car. You were troubleshooting. You wired around the safety system. Freeman told us that about last year with Erica as well. And you didn't reconnect it. But what do you think about that? Like the tech department just saying, this is it. This is what it was. There's been a DQ of the run. Let everybody know, move forward. Transparency with the tech department.
Yeah. Well, obviously, first of all, Joe, we all as racers asked for more tech department. We wanted them to start being more thorough and check more things and be more efficient at what they did over a weekend. So, we asked for this without a doubt. As far as what happened there, yes, I explained what happened there. My car wouldn't start Friday night in the thrash of trying to unhook things, plug things in, turn things off, turn air bottles on, off, trying to see if it would fire. If any of the safety switches were causing it not to start, we left the switch unplugged overnight, came out the next round Saturday morning, and went down the racetrack, and the tech department noticed that wire still unplugged. So they're like, we don't have a choice. We had the same situation with Elite last year, and we had to disqualify their run. So obviously my argument was, and for right or for wrong, it was absolutely a simple mistake. And I said it to you guys. I said, you looked at the car yesterday. The wire was certainly plugged in yesterday. It just got left unplugged after the thrash last night. So I think it's slightly different circumstance than what Elite went through before. Theirs were disconnected basically all year long, and 3 cars, not 1 car. So a little bit different, but I don't know if it matters. The rule's the rule, as they said, and all I could do was say, I'm sorry. It was a mistake, simple mistake, and move on. So it was a costly one. It cost us, winning first round of the Too Tasty Challenge, but it is. Rules are rules, and that's why they're there. So yes, I certainly asked for a break, because it was a simple oversight, a certain mistake, simple mistake, 1 run only, but didn't matter. And, we lost the run.
Alan.
Greg, let's go forward. 2 weeks off between now and Chicago. What is Greg Anderson's 2 weeks like between now and Chicago?
Well, as I said earlier, Alan, we have 8 cars we're trying to take care of out of this shop between complete rental cars and engine rentals. So a ton of engine work to do, and try and make these engines better before we get to Chicago. I obviously have got a serious project. I've got to try and get that new car of mine closer to up to speed and comfortable for me and comfortable for the guys to tune on before we go to Chicago. Chicago has our Getrix call-out race, so that's certainly going to be a huge weekend for me. I didn't even make the race last year, so I am really looking forward to this weekend. I'm looking forward to that race. Because of that. It's the first time I think I've ever missed a specialty race. So it hurt last year to sit on the sidelines and watch. This year I'm back in it. I've got a chance, and my stuff is definitely coming around and certainly competitive. So I feel I'll go there and have a chance at it. I'll have a chance to win. So looking forward to it. But just like any other week, Alan, every minute we get, we work on what we have. We work as long as we possibly can until it's time to load the stuff in the trailer. You're never done. We are never done working. We just have to finally stop working on stuff and get it in the trailer so it gets to the race on time. So that's the way it'll be.
Excellent. Before we let you go, Greg, obviously, congratulations, a tremendous victory. And what we are seeing this year, like Pro Stock has been in the news every race, every week. And I know you and Richard had worked together years ago to save the class. And now this, a monster has been created. It's hard for people to qualify. We're seeing, Hartford is in some struggles, and we really feel like those struggles are going to kind of bite everybody as the year goes on. It's never been tougher from what I can tell and from what people are saying. Certainly Michael Heiner says that it's never been tougher. This is the new golden era. It's so tough out there, et cetera, et cetera. But you and Richard worked together. Right now, though, I want to know what the state of the relationship is between Elite and KB. It feels tense. It feels hot. It's making people want to watch. How would you characterize that once friendly relationship?
It's probably a little frostier than it used to be. I'm not going to lie. We got along great for a couple, 3-4 years there. And as you say, we made a lot of decisions together that we think benefited the class. And now the class is fantastic. It's incredible. And as you said, I know every single one of us is probably going to take the bullet this weekend or this year and have a race that we end up not qualifying. That's how tough it is. We created that. Very proud of that. As far as our relationship going forward, yeah, a little bit frosty, but we're still businessmen and we still want to do what's best for the class. That's the bottom line. We want this class to flourish. We want it to be around for our kids to be able to do. And we're not going to screw that up. We're not going to let whatever goes on between our two teams screw that up. And to be honest with you, I think that creates better racing on the weekend. You don't have to love the guy in the other lane. You don't have to love the person in the other lane to have a good race. And sometimes maybe it helps that you maybe dislike them. I don't know. So it's fine. It's all great competition. That's what the class is. That's what it wants. I'm loving it right now. I left Las Vegas a couple weeks ago and we absolutely got our tails handed to us. Jag and Erica were basically, if you looked from the outside, they were unstoppable. Every time they let the clutch out, they were 00 whatever on the light, and their cars were low ET. I was close to them in performance, but I didn't have a weekend like they did where they could cut 00 lights every time. So certainly left there with, my head dragging a little bit and thinking, man, if it's going to continue like this, it's going to be a long year. So, and then you fast forward a week and a half and it's a role reversal and we go in and then end up dominating a race. So that's Pro Stock in 2024. You'd never know what the heck you're going to get, but it's been crazy and it's been fantastic and it's going to get better yet.
Greg, thank you very much. Congratulations on your win. 105 more to come. And yes, spotlight on Pro Stock. Everybody's talking about it, good, bad, or otherwise. This is what you guys wanted. And now you got it. Right. Enjoy your couple of weeks of hard work, of course. And we'll see you in Chicago. Thank you for making the time for WFO.
Thank you very much for having me, guys.
All right. There he goes, Greg Anderson. Back to work. There he goes, GA. And the thing I love about Greg is you can pitch him a fastball and he's gonna turn on it and try to swing on it, and not dodge away, except for the Mr. H gift thing, which I understand. He wants to go there again, right? Starts blabbing about it. It might dry up.
I especially like what he said, that you don't necessarily have to like the guy you're racing against or the girl, and maybe it's better if you don't. The fans certainly, for the most part, are either Team Greg or Team Erica, right? There's not a whole lot of fans out there that are indifferent about that pair. If you follow Pro Stock at all, one of those two is your favorite when they go head to head, and I think that's important. Obviously, if Greg and Dallas race each other, they're not going to get out of the car at the end of the racetrack and start throwing verbal barbs or jabs at each other. But I'm okay with it if Greg and Erica get out of the car and start mouthing off to each other. I think that's good. I think, I want to know that my driver cares. If I'm a Greg fan, I don't want him getting out of the car and go, boy, we sure were lucky to beat them. They're a great team. They're terrific people. And if I'm an Erica fan, I don't want Erica to get out of the car after she wins and go, boy, I'm glad I won that because Greg and I are going to go have dinner tonight. And boy, it's going to be fun conversation. I don't want to hear that. I want to hear either of them get out of the car and say, that person has been a pain in my butt, and I'm glad I got him this week. Or that person got me last week, and I'm glad I got him back. And even though Jag is never going to put on the black hat, I do appreciate the fact that he's back in the class because, again, he's got a huge fan base. When Greg and Jag were the two, basically the titans in the category for a number of years, same thing. Fans had a favorite. And I think it makes fans want to watch. There's a reason the Snake and the Mongoose were so popular because you liked one or the other. When they went head to head, you had a favorite. You wanted to see somebody win. And rivalries in sports are important. If the fans ever come where they don't care who wins, then they'll quit coming to the races. As simple as that.
That's it. No, great stuff. And Pro Stock center stage. Like, it's been amazing. I do have a couple more Pro Stock questions I want to get you in terms of analysis, but our next guest is like a hardworking guy. He's on his lunch break. The whistle blew. He's taking a break. And so I want to get to him. And I think it's so amazing. You win on Sunday, you go to work on Monday. Joining us now, he is your Pro Stock Motorcycle World Champion. He has won 100% of the races here in 2024, Mr. Gaige Herrera. Revzilla, Vance and Hines. What's up, Gaige? How are you?
It's going good. Glad to be back on the show with you guys.
You're on the lunch break, right?
Yep. So lunch break, and the other guys are still working. I had to take mine a little early, so to join you
there
guys.
It is.
But
thank you for making the time for WFO. So 2 for 2. This one was a little different, though. There was a lot of talk out there. There was a lot of jawing in that 6-week break, and Vance and Hines had 3 out of the final 4 in the final. You gave a lot of credit to John Hall. I thought it was a great race for John Hall, but you brought home the Wally. So talk a little bit about how you got it done this weekend.
Yeah, I mean, it was a good weekend. It started off a little rough, we had 6 weeks off since Gainesville, and I guess we didn't look at my bike good enough, but there was a broken wire on the TPS sensor, which it couldn't do a burnout or run at all, really. So all it did was idle. So Q1, I had to sit out. Matt Smith made a good run. He won a 668, which put him on the pole. He had the potential number 1 qualifier for Friday. Even after Q2, once we got my bike fixed, I ran 69 or 70, I believe. So, I got to give him props too. He's been working hard after Gainesville. I mean, I think he said he went and tested 5-6 times, and it showed. His whole team did good. And then, with the fuel change for Suzuki's, we went from the red fuel, which was a Cyclone, now to the SR18, which is everyone calls it the gold or yellow fuel. Basically, now it's just one fuel across the whole class, kind of like Pro Stock car, which in my opinion is a good thing. There's no reason to have 2 different fuels. So I feel like that made parity a little closer. It did hurt us a little bit, probably a few numbers. And so basically Q2 was my first full pass on the new fuel. And we just kept plugging away at it, trying to see what it liked and so on and so forth. And we were able to get a Too Fast, Too Tasty win against who was in it? Matt, Richard, and I'm trying to remember who else was in it with us. But I was able to get that win and go to the pole with the 67. So we were happy with that after making the adjustments going into Sunday.
Alan?
Gaige, I'm curious. There's been a lot of internet noise. Steve Johnson, Matt Smith, Jack from Cycle Drag. There's been a lot of stuff going on out there the last few weeks. But you're not in the middle of that, right? I mean, you're not in your race shop every day. You're not in it. How much of that do you even pay attention to? How much of that catches your radar? When you're getting up in the morning, you're going to work, you're doing your job. I mean, you have to be aware of it. But I'd say, how much are you aware of it? How much does that actually hit your radar?
I feel like every post there is, I'm tagged in it, whether someone mentions my name or Jack tags me in it or so on and so forth. So I'm always seeing it, especially in the morning. I mean, my average drive in the morning is usually a little over an hour. So I got time to listen to videos of him interviewing people or read comments, like I was saying over the weekend about the keyboard warriors talking about I can't cut a light and this and that, stall the bike. And so I read a lot of that stuff. I don't let it get to me. I mean, I don't let a lot of stuff get to me because it's all just talk. I always say, the haters make you be better or make you push harder to try to be better, personally. And but I think it's good. I mean, any kind of publicity, negative or positive, is good, especially for the class. I feel. I mean, I haven't heard this much talk about NHRA Pro Stock motorcycle in a long time, and I think it's good for the class. I know a lot of people are talking about it, and I see a lot more interest in it. And between Steve, Matt, us, I mean, I feel like, when Jack was cycle drag, I feel like some of the rumors about parts not being available to everyone kind of got blown out of proportion. There's the same parts are available to everyone across the whole board. You can buy the cylinder head, whether it's a Vance Hines, SNS, a Monstar. I think that's about it. But they basically come with the standard port, and whether it's even the SNS, I mean, they do their own port work, their own camshafts, their own rocker arms. So that's all the same between all this different combinations. Now whether or not you can buy that exact cam combo or this and that I really don't know the full aspect on it as far as that part. I mean, I don't know if you can go to Matt Smith and buy the motor out of his bike, kind of like going to us and trying to buy the motor out of my bike. I really don't know if that's a possibility or not. I'm not that deep into it as far as into the aspect of that. But as far as buying the hard parts, like the crankshafts, everything, they're all the same across the board. So I think that's where the media aspect is kind of blown out of proportion, gave people the wrong idea of what's available, what's not.
Interesting. And well, I like hearing you say that. And I think that we have learned over the years that whatever it is like, for instance, in Factory Stock Showdown, right? Like, you can buy a Copo Camaro, you can buy it, but it's not going to qualify in a FlexJet Factory Stock Showdown. You bought it, but there's racers do their own unique things to every single part. And I don't know if people expect that when you buy an out of the box cylinder head from Vance and Hines or whoever, it's going to be fully massaged to the way the racer would want it to be. I think everybody has little things that they like to do with their parts. Otherwise, it's a spec series, right? I mean, am I thinking about this wrong? And feel free to jump in on here, Alan, as well. It seems like that's an unrealistic expectation.
Well, I mean, it's a couple of decades since I was involved in the pro stock world, hands-on. But no, I mean, when Warren Johnson developed the DRCE cylinder head and the 2 and the 3 and the 4, that part number was available. Anybody could buy one. You couldn't buy the one off of Warren's car. You could buy the same casting, the same part, and now you go to work. Now you do the porting. Now you figure out, do you want a bigger intake valve and a smaller exhaust or the other way? And how do you want to make it work? I actually did a video when we were down in COVID, took basically an out-of-the-box cylinder head and a ready-to-race cylinder head, put them side by side. It's on NHRA's YouTube channel. But the fact that you can buy, and I always thought it was kind of interesting, in the SNS and the Harley days, they won't sell us that cylinder head. It's billet. Do you want me to just sell you a chunk of aluminum and then, like the old machinist joke, take away everything that's not part of a cylinder head, and you'll be left with the cylinder head? By the way, my trash man's back. It's been a while since he visited us.
Hey, the trash man.
But, the fact that you can buy the same part number is not the same. And I'm with Gaige. I don't know, but I would bet that the answer is no. Can you buy a cylinder head from SNS? Absolutely, you can. Anybody can. But will Matt Smith sell you the cylinder head off his bike, the exact same, the one that he run? And I don't know the answer to that, but I would bet no, because I think he's done enough research and development over the years that that's the advantage that he has. And I don't believe that he would give that away, even in exchange for a check. And if I'm wrong, then please, Matt, Angie, somebody send me a text, tell me I'm wrong.
Yeah, absolutely. But again, like Gaige, you said, like, this is, we just spoke about it with Greg. Controversy brings attention. People who are casual observers are wondering, like, what's all this about? And they're going to pay attention, and you cashed on this given weekend. I don't really understand the Gaige can't cut a light argument, though. 50-4 last year. There's no real reason for you. You're running track records out there. There's no real reason for you to push the tree and maybe go red when you've got the field, covered in terms of performance. Why would you do that?
Exactly.
You did step up the reaction advantage this week, though. You definitely stepped up your average.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that was one of my things. I focused on that, trying to be no worse. I think the worst for the weekend was a 30-something, I believe, but could be wrong. But that's the thing. When I have such a superior bike, I feel to myself, very consistent. There's no reason for me to push the tree. That was like, I kept talking to LE this week, and he had a very good motorcycle, and he kept going double O's, green, then he went double O red. I'm like, man, you don't got to push it that hard. But and it bit him in the final. But yeah, I mean, I feel like I'm always pretty consistent on the tree. I think Chase Van Sant had the overall best leave out of last season. I think I was second behind him. So I mean, Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I just feel like people just, say stuff and all that, try to get in people's minds and so on and so forth. And, I was just one of those things, I felt like I needed to do better on the tree myself. I like to be very consistent, 20s to 30s. I don't like to push it too hard, and I felt like I did it this weekend. I mean, I think what was it, the final on the Too Fast, Too Tasty? My bike was creeping a little bit. And I thought I was going red, and I got really lucky there. But overall, it was a good weekend. I mean, I had a very consistent motorcycle on Sunday. E1 and E2, I ran a 69, and then in the final, I ran a 68. And it was the final, I think, was very interesting for me. It was I haven't been that nervous in a long time, racing LE, which is a former champion of my teammate Richard Gatson, and then John Hall. He's very good on the tree, and he had a very fast motorcycle. So I was able to come out on top, which I was very happy with that, but I was definitely nervous.
Is the fuel controversy over now? Everybody on the same gas. You guys put 3 bikes in the final. Your performance, if there was anybody that was going, okay, well, these guys have an obvious advantage with the fuel. They're all of a sudden going to start running 720s. Can we put that to bed now that, the fuel isn't the reason that you guys have been superior on performance?
I mean, I would think so. I mean, like I said, I feel like it slowed us down about 2 numbers, maybe a little more. The fuel isn't isn't as good as the other fuel with higher RPMs. But yeah, I definitely feel like we can put that to bed. I feel like it was a good rule change that was made. I'm not sure what they're going to try to do from now, but from, moving forward into Chicago. But I mean, overall, I felt like we ran really good. And Matt, the pass that his shifter line, whichever got melted on the header pipe, he actually left really good. He had a 105 60 foot or something like that. And I feel like he could have been right there with Richard and should have been in the final with us. But, it was just bad luck for him. And this year is going to be it's going to be very interesting. I'm very excited. I feel like the competition is going to be very tight between Van Tines, MSR, War, all the guys out there. Everyone's been working hard. And yeah, I definitely feel like that whole fuel thing now, that's out the window. That's done, over with. So we're just going to go on to Chicago, and we'll see what comes up next as far as a rule change, I guess.
Chicago, Dave Schultz, the streak. Talk a little bit about that. They kind of clued you in the media center, most consecutive race wins in a row, et cetera, all of that. Chicago, this is very big for all of us. The first year back, of course, everybody is going to go because it's the first year back. The second year back, I think, really shows the staying power in a community. I'm hoping that everybody that's WFO goes to this one so that we can build and keep this momentum and continue to save this track and be able to go back there. But you've got a kind of a pretty special milestone floating out there.
Yeah, I'm definitely excited to go to Chicago. I'm about an hour and a half from there. So it's kind of a hometown for me. Same with Indy. I'm about the same distance. But so I didn't know this, but in the media room, they told me Dave Schultz has 8 races in a row, and right now I'm at 7. So I'm very close to tying his milestone. And just to have my name in the same area as Dave Schultz is amazing. I mean, my dad grew up, watching Dave Schultz race. I mean, Dave Schultz is the reason Eddie Krawick has started racing or had an interest in motorcycles. I mean, he's told that story many times, and told stories about Dave Schultz and John Myers going back and forth. And I mean, just to have my name even close to his is amazing. I mean, it's really hard to put into words. I never would have thought would have been even close to any of his milestones. I mean, I look up to him, and I feel like he's, a big part of why pro stock motorcycle is what it is today. And I'm gonna try not to think about it. Just gonna try to go out there and do what I gotta do, like go A to B and make clean runs, and we'll see what happens. There's a lot of tough competitors. My Richard's getting more and more consistent, so I got to worry about him and everyone else. But Chicago's gonna be fun. It's a very nice facility. I'm glad we're going back there. I believe we get 4 qualifiers there, 2 Friday, and it's going to be nice. It's a very nice facility, and it's going to be fun. And I think we have a Too Fast, Too Tasty there as well.
Yes, we do.
Yeah, it'll be back to the 2-wide format, obviously. And for any fans in the Chicago area that might not have heard that, what Gaige just mentioned was officially announced, I think, last week, but I'm not sure how much fanfare it got. Chicago originally was one of the events that was going to have one qualifying run on Friday and then 2 on Saturday, but that has been amended. There now will be 2 qualifying runs on Friday and 2 on Saturday. So anybody in the area that had been thinking about, maybe I'll just wait and come out Saturday, you're going to get to see 2 of them on Friday as well. And Gaige is going to certainly hope he gets off to a better start than he did last weekend. You mentioned a home race. How many of your coworkers, acquaintances, people that, maybe watch you on TV, how many of them would make the trip to come out and see you compete in person if you're going to be that close?
A lot of people. I mean, actually, when I got back today, because I ended up driving home yesterday from Charlotte. A lot of people today, said they already bought their tickets, they're planning to go, and even my boss is like, I think I'm gonna give everyone a half a day on Friday. So it's turned into a big deal. I feel like a lot of my coworkers and stuff didn't realize how big NHRA drag racing was until they started following it. Once they figured out, I was racing it. So that's very cool. And actually today I'm up in, I guess you would call it West Chicago, up here in the Mills, and there's quite a few people up here that said they're going as well. They already put in there for the half day of PTO type of thing, and so that's pretty exciting. I mean, it's pretty cool to have such a big fan base that's so around from people that I work with, and so much support, and it's cool that it's so close to home for sure.
Bring your boss to the starting
line.
line.
If anybody's got extras, is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Oh yeah, I need all the tickets.
He's a champ. He can buy them. It's no big deal. Bring your boss to the starting line. This is closed circuit to Gaige's boss. Give everybody like 2/3 of a day and bring them all out and watch this kid do his thing. You will love it. It'll be amazing. And, you got to watch this guy on the starting line. It'll be great. It'll be great for the company, I think, too. Don't you think, Alan? Won't it be great for the company?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And then, once your boss gets hooked, then when you need some extra time off for this or that, he'll be much more agreeable, no doubt.
Yes. Oh, yeah. Well, we'll help you out with that one. Gaige, thank you very much for joining us on WFO Radio. Congratulations, Revzilla, Vance, and Hines. The spotlight was bright, but you got the job done. You're perfect so far in 2024. Keep it going. We'll see you in Chicago.
Thank you very much, guys. Have a good day.
Appreciate you. There goes Gaige Herrera with us here on WFO Radio. Right? Like they're going to give him a half day. That would be perfect. And how many people have said that? Like, oh, I'm an NHRA Pro Stock World Champion, Pro Stock Motorcycle World. Yeah, okay, get back to work, kid. But once you come out and see exactly what it's all about, be on the starting line, I think that would be very, very good for all of the coworkers to come out and enjoy Gaige and watch him battle it out against the best in the business.
Yeah, and then, we've got a chance to hook new fans. You and I have preached it for years. If, you've never been to a race in person, or if it's been a long time since you've been to a race in person, come out and give us a chance. See what the show's all about now. See what kind of spectacular performances we put on. See what kind of production we put on. Because if the last time you were at the races was, 1997, it's changed. Come out and give us a shot. And if you come out and give us a day and we can't hook you, then that's fine. But I think that way more often than not, we will definitely hook somebody that comes out for the first time.
Oh, I missed this one. Can we hear Gaige's sinister laugh? Loved it at the top end interview. It was a sinister laugh. It was something to that. Like he exposed a little bit of himself we haven't seen just yet.
Well, we'll just have to wait until next week.
Yes, exactly. All right. So, your questions in the comment section, we ask everybody to share the show, repost on X, share the show for your drag racing fan friends. That's how we get out of there. That's our marketing budget, guys. Let's just be straight with one another. Alan Reinhardt is going to break down. I got a couple of questions about Pro Stock to ask you, Alan, but let's do it right after this very quick break. How about this?
For more than a decade, FTI has strived to become the leader in the aftermarket performance transmission and converter industry. We've joined forces with McLeod Driveline Components under the leadership of Top Fuel Funny Car pilot Paul Lee, and now have a larger distribution network, more resources, and more power. Come see us in the pits and ask how you can join the FTI family. It's not cheating, it is the competitive edge.
Thank you all for sharing the show and reposting on X. All right, so we were, before Greg and Gaige came on, we were talking a little pro stock. I want to get into the Nitro ranks. I want to talk about Tricky Ricky Smith and Comp Eliminator, because of all the different things that happened this weekend, I think that one might be most personally impressive to me. But I wanted to talk about Hartford and the Total Seal team, Alan. They are in a dark place right now, a little bit lost, brought out a new chassis this year, right as the manifold rule is hitting. So a whole lot of different elements to sort out. I don't love it, but I love seeing great racers fight their way out of a difficult situation, because it shows that it's possible. You can't have a comeback story without having a bit of a downtime. We've seen J.R. Todd and the Yellow Fellas do it. We see people do it. It's hard to do, but it can be done. What do you think's going on over there at the Total Seal team?
Well, I think it's a combination of things. What Greg said about, the tuning aspects of changing the manifold and doing this stuff. Since Greg and the guys are in the dyno room hour after hour, day after day, Matt Hartford's not, right? Derek Kramer's not. So you can go over there and you can give them advice. You can tell them what you've learned. You can tell them, this is where. But if I'm tuning the car, and I've tuned my car this way for years, and I've had a lot of success, and I finished third last year, and I won Indy last year, and I know what works. Okay. Now, when you come over and say, look, if you need to change your way of thinking, you need to change, it might take me more than a run or two to be convinced that what I know works maybe isn't the best way to go anymore. You throw into the mix the new car. And I don't think there's anything wrong with the new car. I actually spoke to Matt pretty in depth about this. He doesn't think there's anything wrong with the new car. But maybe, right? I mean, maybe there's something there. He actually said at the top end of the racetrack that he was now considering bringing the old car back out, if for no other reason than just to completely eliminate that. He said, it's a car I was comfortable with. It's a car. And he said, if I come out in the old car and it does the same thing, okay, we've eliminated that. He doesn't believe there's anything wrong with the car, but sometimes you got to prove it. And, again, it's been a long time since I was in the world, but the number of times when we would go and we'd do this and do this, and it's like, I absolutely, positively am 100% sure that this isn't the problem, but we need to eliminate it. Get me another something, and let's try this. Let's take this engine and put it in that car. Let's take whatever you got to do to eliminate it. But it's just a matter of working through. And when you're Greg and racing is your full-time job, when you are Richard Freeman and you've got, your drivers down there that this is their full-time job, if you need to go spend 2 or 3 days at the racetrack, you do it. If you're Matt, he's got a multi-million-dollar company to run. Can he get away a day? Maybe. Can he take 3 or 4 days and just dedicate to let's go make 25 runs? I don't believe that he can. So he's got to figure out the way to get through this. And I also think that it really shows that it ain't easy. You go out week after week and you watch Erica run good, and you watch Greg run good, and you watch, Jag run good, and you watch Dallas run good, and you get to the point that, once you got it, right? I mean, it's no big deal. You just, gas it up, pack the parachute. I mean, look, these guys it's easy. But I think this is proof that it's really not that easy. And the guys that make it look that way do it because they're so good at it. I would wonder, and I'm sure Matt has thought about this because he's an awfully smart guy and awfully successful guy. After watching Greg last weekend, if you're Matt Hartford, do you call Dave Conley? Hey, would you like to come to Chicago and drive my second car? And maybe put Dave in the new one and let Matt get in the old one, or maybe the other way around. Remember, Dave Conley drove that new car down in Bradenton at the preseason race, the shootout race, because Matt couldn't get away from what he was doing and had a pretty good showing with it. So is that an option? I don't know. If it's me, I've thought about it. I'm sure Matt has thought about it. Let's put these two cars side by side on the same track in the same condition, and let's eliminate that as we go forward. But one thing that I know about Matt, and this goes, back to his Sport Compact days and his Comp Eliminator days, and he is a determined guy. He's not going to throw his hands up in the air and walk away. So he is going to figure out how to battle through this and how to get everything going back in the right direction. It's just a matter of how much time it's going to take, and he's going to do it. We'll just have to see how long it takes him to do it.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And the Getrix team and the Getrix Pro Stock call-out race coming up in Chicago, and so there's personal import to his sponsor, and so they got to get it right. The idea that you're going to roll out a brand new car and know it the way you've known this car you've run for the last 6-7 years, the comfortable shoe, all of that stuff. Then you throw in the intake manifold rules. And oh, by the way, 21 other really strong competitors, stronger than it's ever been. It's going to be tough. That's just it. It's going to be tough. And I think we are going to see everyone get bitten by this bug at some point. Maybe not everyone, but people will definitely be working hard to avoid that. Appreciate all you guys sharing the show, watching the numbers go up as we speak. That is tremendous. Those of you watching on PowerTube TV, thank you so much. WFO Radio. We've been doing this a long time, and we love the Mission Foods drag racing series. Let's talk some nitro, Alan, starting off with Top Fuel, where Justin Ashley, getting his first 4-wide win ever. That was a little surprising to me, right? As I shouldn't be surprised by anything Justin does. He's still very young in his driving career, but his first 4-wide win. Doug Coletta had a shot at that 4-headed broom, Alan. He had a shot at the 4-headed broom, but it didn't work out, and you guys escaped because I saw people behind the grandstands carrying their 4-headed brooms. They were going to hit the track, and then it didn't work out.
Oh
well.
Oh my God! I'm
over.
glad we didn't end up with a 4-headed broom moment. I mean, no offense, Doug, but Justin, winning his first Too Fast, Too Tasty challenge of the year. It almost seems funny last year, right? I mean, last year the Too Fast, Too Tasty almost seemed like, hey, hey, we're here for the Justin Ashley Invitational. Let's find out who's going to be runner-up this week. And the fact that we're 5 races in and it's the first time he's won one, so that was a little bit of a wow, really. But no, the car's running good, and Justin is Justin. If your plan to beat Justin is to go up there with a car that's equal and beat him off the starting line, good luck with that. Your plan to beat Justin needs to be to go up there with a car that's 3 or 4 quicker than his, because way more often than not, he's going to be the first one to smash the gas. And, they're clicking right now. The car's making good, clean runs. There's a lot of guys out there that have got good cars, and Justin is kind of the X factor right now, because he's going to get you something on the starting line 75 or 80% of the time.
Absolutely, he is. Amazing win for Justin Ashley. I want to shout out to Clay Milliken, though. That big speed, 337, like Clay, Rick Ware. Tony Stewart gets the majority of the NASCAR country directed love, but Rick Ware is part of that, and that's the hometown team for that area. Felt terrible for Doug Foley, also based in that area. He low of his quad, and he turned on the evil eye. Just a great race, top to bottom. The 4-wide races back to back. A good move in the schedule as well. What jumps out at you as you look back at Top Fuel from the 4-wide and ZMAX?
Well, just the amount of parity that's out there right now, and the 4-wide is, because of the format, you don't have to be perfect, right? One of the things that attracts a lot of people to NHRA, and was a big reason that I got started and have had such a passion for it for so many years, is because it's sudden death. You can't make a mistake on the second lap and have 400 laps to get it back. You can't make a mistake in the second corner and go, well, don't worry about it. We'll make it up over the next couple of laps. You can't make a mistake on a pit stop. And so the sudden death aspect of it is something that I've always embraced, and I think is what draws a lot of fans. And the mentality that you don't have to be perfect in 4-wide, you just have to be good enough, at least on the first part of the day, right? Just get through. Tony Stewart, I thought, put it in interesting perspective. He said it's like a dirt race. He said, you don't have to win. If you finish first or second in your heat, you're good. You finish first or second in the B main, you're good. Then you get to the show at the end of the day where you have to win. But the number of side-by-side runs and the number of things that we see that were afforded because of the second chance, right? If we had been Joe and Alan head-to-head, well, you know what? Alan gets dumped and he's out, and that's it for the day. But because it's 4-wide, Alan might get a second chance at it. And now I can come back and maybe extract my revenge on you and the rest of the field. And with the parity in the class right now, you can't go up to the starting line thinking to yourself, okay, well, it's Justin Ashley, Doug Coletta, Joe and Alan, so they don't have to worry about Joe and Alan, because Joe and Alan are running good enough that they do have to worry about us. And that oftentimes opened the door for an underdog, as we've seen. If the 2 highly touted cars or 3 highly touted cars are also concerned with each other, that they forget, Mr. 385 over here that's just going to tool down a racetrack is going to get the opportunity. And that really is the beauty of 4-wide. I've learned to like it a lot more over the last few years than my first initial thought about it. And we've been through our 4-wide season now. Now we can get back to conventional format and focus back on sudden death, where if you're not perfect, take down the awning. We'll see you next week.
Yeah, exactly. It's its own thing. It's its own thing in his own spot, back-to-back races at the beginning of the schedule. And I agree. I was never against it. Because I credit the four wide with, great crowds in the spring race in Vegas and building ZMAX in general. So those things cannot be avoided, right? Bruton was not going to build a 2-wide drag strip there. And the fans do love it. When I asked people to raise their hands if they had flown to the race, the majority of the fans at our track walk were out of towners that came to see the spectacle. So you can't argue with it anymore. And it's also, we're learning the racing. It's easier to get to the final, but it's harder to win the final. And it's its own unique thing. Parks is out there. He says that, hey, Bellemere swept the 4-wide. And that's right, Parks. They had the big Tony Bartone Intercontinental double up with the Mercedes GT factory team and Tony's son, Anthony, on his birthday, and also swept the 4-wide. When I was talking to Bellemere on the stage, that just didn't occur to me. Oh my gosh. What would have helped me know that? A 4-wide broom, someone holding a 4-headed broom up there, then I would have been like, oh my gosh, that's right. But I didn't have that little note. See? You see? It's okay, guys. You failed. No big deal.
He also tied Tony Bartone for 38 career wins. So Bellemere, I don't know if you know or not, but got fired Sunday night because Tony does not want to be passed. So he's now going to put somebody else in the car, and when they tie him, he'll fire that person too.
Makes perfect sense.
That's a joke.
Yeah. The people are calling like Bellemere to get him on driving their car. Just want to shout out to Jasmine Salinas getting, low ET of her career, round win. Way to go, Jasmine. I spent a lot of time talking to Jasmine, a little bit of time speaking with Jasmine, and I just love her attitude. Like that's going someplace. If you're a fan of Scrappers, you're a fan of Jasmine, that is moving in the right direction. Felt like Brittany Force getting a whole shot action going into the next round with the HendrickCars.com thing, focusing on her lights. Even the teams that are a little down at the moment are moving in the right direction. So very exciting. Let's talk funny car, where Hulk Hagen picking up his first win of the season. Man, took him 5 races into the title defense. We'll talk about it with him tomorrow, 12 noon Eastern time on WFO Radio. And you can follow us on WFO Radio TV on YouTube. Subscribe, click the bell, never miss a show, please. But this guy Hagen, was in the final round in Vegas, right? Set low ET of the quad and came in last. We'll mention that to him, just talking about the competition level. But Matt Hagen and his team puts one on the board. Alex Conaway told us they got all the guys back. They're highly motivated and they're ready to compete. And it showed on Sunday.
Well, they obviously hadn't gone anywhere. They hadn't been struggling. They hadn't been lost. They just hadn't been in a winner's circle. They've got a good race car. The Big Four still looks like the Big Four. J.R. Todd has certainly stepped up his performance. Paul Lee, what he's done with that car and that team is very impressive. So funny car, as we get into the summer months and later into the year, that Big Four could turn into 7 maybe or 8 as we continue battling it out. So that's going to be fun to watch. Bob Tasca's 338-mile-an-hour run was big. I can't believe you didn't mention anything about the Tasca manifold controversy, since we went through the whole Pro Stock manifold controversy.
Well, it's going to have its own section, which is coming up now after we talk about the Hagen deal. Because if anyone liked, Tasca needs to be more motivated and animated. Well, you're going to get that, right? You're going to get that. And it was a great story, Brian and Tony, and I happen to be Johnny on the spot. But let's close the book on Hagen and his win. Just that you mentioned, Force, JR, both in the final round. John Force having a great season, but Matt Hagen, 29 on the tree, Alan, 29.
Yeah. Well, you didn't think he was going to let what happened in Vegas happen again, did you? And especially, it was his 50th win, which is a milestone. He considers this his home racetrack because even though he's from Virginia, he's actually closer to ZMAX Dragway than he is to Richmond. So they had, friends and family and business associates and folks that were there rooting him on. Big deal for him to get the milestone, to get it there in front of all those people. And again, what he considers one of his home racetracks. And, he's got a great car. Those guys are going to be in the middle of the championship fight again all year long. And Hagen was ready for him this time. He kind of got surprised a little bit, I think, in Vegas, and he came back this time. When you make a mistake once, the next time you get up into the batter's box, you might not necessarily hit a home run, but you're not gonna fall for the same thing again. And he went up there and absolutely hit a home run.
And the whole poking it in there deal, There was discussion on Jordan Vandergriff asked Austin Prock about it. Austin says that's not really how I race. It's all the same. Tony Pedregon said, well, getting to the finish line first is very important. Obviously, I think I know this, and I feel like I've always known this, but I would like you to reaffirm what I'm thinking. All things being equal, if I start 2 inches closer to the finish line and everything else is exactly the same, if I start 2 inches closer than you do and all things are exactly the same, won't I always win?
You'll win by 2 inches.
Right.
So if you win by 2 inches, then you could have stolen it on the starting line. But the reality is, how often does that happen? 3 times a year, maybe?
I don't know.
And how often is lane choice something that's more important? And that's what you're risking giving up, because all you're doing is manipulating the scoreboard. Okay, if you're really in deep, you can roll in 4 inches without turning out the top light. All right. So let's say you've taken 4 inches. We have identical cars. They're tuned up the same. They run exactly the same. We hit the gas at exactly the same time. You win the race by 4 inches. Your scoreboard says 385. My scoreboard says 381. Since we're funny car racing, I'm setting low ET. You've won the race by 4 inches, and it looks like I lost on a hole shot. But the reality of it is we had identical cars, and you stole it on the starting line. What happens way more often than not is you roll that thing in 4 inches, and we go blasting down there, and the scoreboard says 385 beats 384. But when you look at the difference at the finish line, the difference at the finish line is half a car length, 0.03 of a second. Because if we had staged identical, I ran 384 and you ran 381. You won the race by having the quicker car. What you did was give away 400s in ET, which could conceivably be lane choice in the next round. That's why crew chiefs hate it so bad. And that's also why when you're in the final, if you want to roll her in there a little bit, have at it. Who cares, right? There's no lane choice in the winner's circle. And if you could win the race by 4 inches. But lane choice more often is a bigger factor than winning the race by 3 or 4 inches at the finish line. So remember that the next time you're looking at the cars across the finish line and there's a hole shot, if the cars are 3 inches apart, then the driver stole it by rolling in deep. But if the drivers are separated by 1.5 feet or 2 feet, the quicker car won the race, no matter what the scoreboard says. The car that made the better run won the race because margin of victory dictates it. And, it's all going back into the math, and you look at the reaction time versus a 60-foot time and blah, blah, blah. But look at the margin of victory, and that's the telling tale. It's just another tool in the box. Nobody's cheating. Nobody's doing anything illegal. You can do it if you want to. You have to decide the risk versus reward. Do I think this is going to help me win the race versus do I think lane choice in the next round could be a more important factor, or even pair choice? Because remember, the run order as you go through the day is decided the same way. So if you run first round and you chunk it in there and you give away 400s or so, now coming back into the second round, instead of being third pair, you might be first pair out. And you might, or your crew chief might really want to let somebody else in a funny car go down that racetrack first before he decides what lane he's in. You've taken that option away. And, if I'm a driver, I'm definitely not, nobody will ever deep stage in qualifying. If you deep stage in qualifying, you're an idiot, because all you're doing is giving up qualifying spots. And there's no reason for that whatsoever. Who cares if your reaction time is 85 instead of 45 in qualifying, or 110 instead of 60? Who cares? You're trying to get the best position for your car. But on race day, if you make that choice, if I think this 4 inches or 3 inches is going to be the difference between me winning, losing the race, and I'm willing to risk lane choice or run order choice in the next round to do it, then have at it. And, if it makes you look like a hero on the scoreboard, then great, have at it. But watch the margin of victory the next time there's one of those, 84 to 85, or in Top Fuel, 77 beats a 75. Look at the margin of victory. And if the margin of victory is this far, maybe the starting line had something to do with it. If the margin of victory is 3 feet, then the quicker car won the race, no matter what the scoreboard says.
All right. No, I appreciate that. That is excellent. We'll talk to Matt Hagan tomorrow about it. His 29 reaction time, amazing stuff. Hagan and Justin Ashley on 12 noon Eastern time on Wednesday here on WFO Radio. You'll never miss one if you follow us on social media, WFO Radio on X, on Instagram, and of course on Twitter. Just go right to WFO Radio TV and subscribe and click the bell, and you'll always get the show. All right, the Manifold. I was there. I was watching the NHRA Insider podcast live. It's going out on Tubi. It's going out to all these apps all around the world. And Tasca comes on, and I'm like kind of going past the Mission Foods display, and I hear the tones of Tasca, Rhode Island, and I was like, he sounds fired up. Manifolds, Wilson Manifolds, and then I'm immediately like Keith Wilson Manifolds. What's going on? Because I'm immediately thinking that is the same manifold that has been designed and built for Project Pontiac. And here's a nice little sneak peek right there, Alan Reinhart. Look at that beautiful Pontiac intake from Wilson Manifolds, and look at that. And then Tasca starts talking about the color and that they took them and
super modified.
Exactly. And so, what say you about this? It has been said, Jordan Vandergriff said on the show, no modifications means no modifications, and that includes media blasting. I've heard various opinions. I think Tasca proved it on the track, though. The one that they put on from Torrance's car ran just as well. They set top speed. They ran well. And I think they, by winning the Mission Too Fast, Too Tasty challenge, kind of silenced anyone who might have thought anything funny was going on. But what say you? And of course, he thanked the Torrance team for giving them like literally the intake off their car.
Well, I'm going to wait and see what the ultimate decision is made on this. Yes, the rule says you are not allowed to modify a manifold from its stock configuration, but they do lap the manifolds. Everybody does that. That's modified from stock configuration. Manifolds occasionally have to be repaired. So if you weld on one, is that modified from stock configuration? It would seem so, but there are plenty of manifolds out there that have been repaired that are running. The media blast to clean it up for part of the flow process, I see that kind of like stripping the paint. Now, if you put it in, if you're sandblasting it, if you're removing material, if you're making the ports bigger, if you're reshaping, then I think that's absolutely a blatant violation of the rules. But if it's a media blast, which depending on what media they use, as a general rule, does not remove material, it's just a cleaning agent, then I don't believe that you've changed the structure of the manifold at all. Bob said that Alan Johnson came over, who is the one who manufactured the manifolds. Alan Johnson came over, looked, measured, checked, and said, no, it's absolutely this exact same dimensions, inside, outside, everything, as a manifold that we manufacture and sell. It's just been cleaned. So once they get to the bottom of this, it'll be curious to see if the tech department says, we have done this due diligence and determined that these manifolds are okay to run, or if they find something and say, going forward, this is not going to be acceptable because, modified from stock, if you strip a bolt and put a helicoil in, you have now modified it from stock. Does that make the manifold illegal? I wouldn't think so. So I think that this is something where it caught somebody's eye. They looked at it and said, we need to delve deeper into this. And like Greg Anderson said, everybody wants more tech. Everybody wants the tech department to stay on top of it, not to catch the people that are cheating, but for the most part, to prove that what I'm doing is legit. And again, going back a million years ago, Alan Johnson, Dodge Alan Johnson in Pro Stock, LLEN Johnson, when he was running the lone Dodge out there for a number of years, and he struggled for a while, and then his performance started picking up. And in Gainesville, he made a couple of pretty good runs. And at the end of qualifying on Saturday night, there was a tech guy waiting for him at the end of the racetrack and said, don't touch anything, roll up the parachutes, throw them in the door, hook up your tow vehicle, and follow me. We're going to the tech barn. And Alan's response was, yes, I've been trying to get in the tech barn for 3 years. It's about time I finally accomplished my goal. And he wanted to go in. He wanted to get torn down. He wanted to prove to everybody that we have made this progress and we're doing it legally. We're doing it within the rules. We're doing what we're supposed to do. The competitors all want that. And so I'm going to wait and see what the ultimate outcome is over this manifold, over the manifold disagreement is what I'm calling it right now. Bob says this, the tech department says it looks fishy. We want to know. and I'm going to wait and see what the ultimate outcome is before I make a decision. Because if you go letter of the rule, right, you cannot modify this. Then the next time somebody breaks a bolt off in one, are you expecting them to throw it away by a new manifold? Of course not. So let's let the system do what it needs to do. Let's see what the ultimate outcome is before I have any opinion on it. But I don't believe anybody in the know. I don't think Dickie Venables, for instance. I don't think Guido. I don't think Jimmy Prock. I don't think anybody that knows anything about funny car racing, when they confiscated the manifolds from Bob, went, okay, well, that's it. He's only going to run 310 miles an hour now. You're about to find out what was going on, because they all know better.
Got it. No, makes sense, and appreciate your opinion on that. Let's talk about some of the other winners from the weekend. We already mentioned Sean Bellamy, amazing outcome. Mike Coughlin, the McPhillips family getting the job done. Let's talk comp eliminator. For me, Tricky Ricky, 1976 was the last time he had run comp. It's about switching from the pro tree to the sportsman tree and giving every single other car a considerable head start. And the car is going behind the other side of the tree. And Ricky, who has not done this, sitting there just like waiting. And for him to win the race, it just adds to the legend of Ricky Smith to me. How do you see it?
Well, I agree. And I got to tell you, Ricky, and I saw him when he was standing down in the line for the Parade of Champions when I was headed up to the top end for the pro finals, and stopped, just chit-chatted with him for 15 seconds. He seemed happier and more excited about that than the last 2 times or 3 times or 10 times I saw him win a pro mod race. I mean, he was giddy with excitement about it. But I also think, to be fair, the A Pro Modified Index was way soft. You know, when's the last time somebody ran an A Pro Modified in comp?
Right.
And there have been a couple of double A Pro Modifieds, right? The blower cars and the other stuff when guys come out and test. So that gave Ricky a little bit of a cushion, right? When you go out there and you qualify 9/10 under, and you're not Jeff Taylor, right? You're not Chase. You're not David Rampy. You're not worried about the index. Hey, all I got to do is get there. You know, it's not like, well, what are we going to do when we get to November and we've used up all the index? It's like, just get there. Just get there. And he told me, and I don't know if he told you or not, he told me he legitimately thought he'd lost the final round because he had given up, 27 or some ridiculous amount of index at the time. And said, that guy was at the 8th mile before my tree ever came on. And, the fact that he ran him down at 259 miles an hour, or whatever it was I thought it was great. I thought it was great theater. I thought the fans embraced it. Ricky obviously loved it. Congratulations to him for picking up the win in another class. But it's not sustainable, right? If Ricky decides, instead of pro mod, I'm just going to go run comp, he'll have 2 more weekends like that. He'll be qualifying 37 under and being 12th on the sheet. So, hey, Ricky, you want to have some real fun? Come to No Problem this weekend and run for some of Brogdon's money, because we're going to have comp eliminator down at No Problem this week. They'd love to see you. Well, maybe Roger wouldn't, but everybody else would.
Amazing. Superstock Don Schufert, great job, Don. 27 years between Wallies. He did point out, though, I was not racing for 20 of those, so that's part of it. Brett Candies in stock, Colby Fuller in Super Comp, Billy Upton in Super Gas. Great interview, Billy. Great interview. Like, Billy Upton was actually really good. So was Brad Plord with his Super Streeter. Got me more motivated for Project Pontiac. James Hinkle and Top Sportsman. Holden Larice from Larice Motorsports Insurance and Top Dragster. And Waylon Bennett in the Junior Dragster Shootout. Final thought, Alan.
No, it was just a great event. I thought the number one thing that I was happiest about for the whole thing is that we finished it on schedule. It's the first time this year we got to do a Parade of Champions. And, I've talked about it every race going in, right? That's just such a huge thing for the sportsman winners. I think it's great for them to have a chance to show their little personality. I think it's great for the fans to be able to get to see, to get to hear, to get to know these people that are driving the cars that don't burn nitro. I just think it's huge. And the first time that we got to do that, the fact that we had such a great slate of winners to come up there and stand on the stage and tell their stories was terrific. Other than Friday, a couple little spritzes that ran some of the crowd out of there and pushed us back a little bit. For the most part, we had good weather for the weekend. Just give us good weather and we'll take it from there. I hope this is the beginning of a trend. I'd love to go into Chicago, do the same thing, finish the thing on time, on schedule, get to do everything we want to do. Because when we don't get to do the track walk, or when we don't get to do a full pre-race, or when we don't get to do the Parade of Champions, or when we don't get to do some of that, it just really takes away from the event from my standpoint. I know from the fan standpoint. So that's the thing that I'm happiest about. Getting to spend a little time at the top end and having the flashback and seeing everybody down there again was kind of cool for me. But the fact that we got to do all of those little things that I think are important to the racers that we hadn't had an opportunity to do. And I think you have to give Dan Fletcher an honorable mention. 2 semifinal rounds, and then getting kicked in the teeth, and both of them by a thousandth of a second, if I'm not mistaken. And one, he gave up the stripe by a thou, and the other, the stripe margin was a thou, and he came out on the wrong side of the double breakout mat. So, it's a classic case. Sometimes you do everything right, and it still doesn't pay off. But, he had the maximum wear and tear for the minimum gain weekend that any sportsman competitor get. And by the way, you mentioned Brad Floyd just kind of in passing. That's his high school car, right?
Yes. Yeah, no, he says, and this is probably, he's not going to race it too much anymore. That's an amazing piece. It shows you small tire car wins Super Street, the one that had been evading him, his 6th different category. Bo Butner, Mountain Motor Pro Stock, wins in his 7th different category.
Yep. So now Bo joins Jag Coughlin as winners in 7 different categories, which I assume means Jag is going to find another category to race in just so he can try to get his record back. And I guess, if somebody's got a car that needs a driver, Brad Floyd's available, whatever class, just put him in it, give him 2 races, he'll win.
4 different classes at ZMAX. That was shocking. 4 different classes at ZMAX alone. Like Brad Plord, what an ace. Oh, well.
Grew up watching his dad's alcohol cars and grew up out at the racetrack and obviously watched, learned, and puts it in practice. To think, and I don't know, this might be a little stretch, but like everybody talked about, what if Pete Biondo had done what Dan Fletcher did, right? What if he had quit his job and gone on the road? How many wins would he have? And I think Brad Plord is kind of in that same conversation. If he had gone out, spent 10 years of his life just traveling, going to every event, taking all those shots, how many wins would he have as good as he is? You're in pretty rare air when you won in that many different classes, and I don't think it's way out of line to compare him with guys like Sneaky Pete.
I agree. Amazing. Yeah. Biondo still chasing number 7 as well. And I mentioned to Jaggy right away. I walked right over to him. I go, so what are you going to run next? And he goes, we'll just have to see. Hey, he's pretty focused on Pro Stock. Alan, great job as usual. Thank you so much.
His boss has a lot of Mountain Motor Pro Stock cars laying around, so I don't think he'd have too much trouble, finagling a ride in one of those.
Yes, they did. Mountain Motor Pro Stock was great. Randy Lynn did great stuff. Alan, great job as usual. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Joe. Always a pleasure. I'm going to catch a nap tomorrow, and then I am headed down to No Problem Raceway. If you're in Louisiana and you love sportsman racing, if you've never been to No Problem Raceway, it's worth the experience. And I said it last week, and I honestly believe this is basically going to be a huge party, and there might be some racing in the middle of it. But they've got, big food stuff planned, concerts planned, lots of side activities planned. It's going to be a big happening down at No Problem Raceway. If you're in the neighborhood and you like sportsman racing, come on down. You will not be disappointed. I promise you.
Tell Nelson I said what's up. Thank you.
I'll do it.
There he goes. The voice of the NHRA, Alan Reinhart, joins us each week right here on WFO Radio. Yes, go to the race. Go to the race. Go to the race. Get out there. Sports and racing. Walk amongst the racers. Have fun. Hang out. All right. Final comments in the comment section, guys. I see some comments down there. I do want to reference a few things. In particular, I want to tell you, of course, you should be watching the show on Thursday night on PowerTube TV. The app is available on Roku and Apple and Samsung, and the more are coming online. PowerTube TV. We appreciate them running our WFO radio show. And all of our great sponsors, RodaxCoffeeandGrills.com. If you haven't tried the coffee or the hot sauce and spice rub, you really need to. 817-924-6821. Call Marvin. Tell him you heard about it on WFO radio and just work him. Like, which style of coffee from around the world is perfect for you? Do you like to be hyper caffeinated? Do you like dark roast? Rodax, 817-924-6821. Samtech.edu, the School of Automotive Machinists and Technology. We always say it, start your education at full speed. And our great friends at Frank Hawley's Drag Racing School, the Dragster Adventure, Frank Hawley. They've got Super Comp, Super Gas licenses, courses going on in Gainesville later on this year. Plus our great friends at Total Seal Piston Rings, FTI Performance Transmissions and Torque Converters, the folks at Foggett doing a great job, Bernie's Speed Shop, BURNYZZ.com, CWT Industries, and Phillips Connect, all supporting WFO Radio. Let's get to your comments. I've been trying to cut the show short, right around an hour and a half, but we will spend a few moments talking with you guys, like LaToya, who's special, man friend or boyfriend, got number one qualifier in Stock Eliminator. I'm talking about McNeil Freeman. What's up, LaToya? Wants to know about our TikTok. Yeah, we do have a TikTok, WFO Radio, but I really don't do a lot of posting. I did post on our TikTok a nice reel of Alexis DeJoria and Del Worsham doing an awesome throttle whack. Please share all of our social Instagram reels as well. But I am genuinely about the TikTok deal. Like, I know everybody is, like, oh, this is really nice, and I can learn about where to get a good sandwich. But it's owned by the communist Chinese military, and they are using it to, meld the minds of American citizens and make people think that things that aren't necessarily true. So it's not a good thing. Yes, I did take a stance against TikTok, but we do have one, but I don't really post on it too much. So there you go. There you go. Right? Yeah, TikTok. Should it be banned? They should just sell it. Why did NHRA not tell Tasca when they gave him back the intakes that they were not okay? Why did they wait till Charlotte? Daniel, I think that is a very legitimate question. And I talked to Lonnie last week, and he said that there was going to be much more transparency, and there was, and that they were going to be more active, and they were. And he agreed to come back. And I think that is a really great question. You have to remember this. And I worry about this all the time. Just because someone says something doesn't mean it is necessarily exactly 100% accurate. People hear things in their own way, and they say things in their own way. And so that is the version of the story that Tasca is saying. And I'm not saying he's lying or telling him his truth. I'm sure he absolutely believes what he is saying, but I'm sure the NHRA tech department has their own version, and we don't get to know exactly what it is. So maybe I'll ask Lonnie the next time he comes on the show. But the Tasca version of the story is that they gave back the manifolds, and they assumed that since they got them back, Aaron Brooks said this, since they got them back, that means they were legal. And then the story that they're telling is that the NHRA tech department said, well, we didn't say that they were legal. And that does tick me a little like, what is that? That seems kind of odd. And right now that's a gray area. But I would caution against ascribing some sort of motive. Like, you can question a person's judgment, but don't question their motives. A little bit earlier, someone said, they got a problem with Tasca. They don't have a problem with Tasca. They're going through this process. And people have said they want more tech. And so they're getting more tech. They didn't like the color of it. There was something that they deemed to be suspicious. They made a call. Tasca got another manifold and proved that they can run faster with another manifold. And so I think that should be obvious to people. Okay. And I think more research needs to go into it. But, I would caution against tech shaming, right? Which is what a lot of people are doing. How dare the tech department dare question anybody? No, it's their job to question. They're there specifically for the purpose of questioning people. And so don't tech shame people. Don't tech shame the professionals. Let them do their deal. And yeah, a racer who gets questioned is going to be bothered. Like when they closed the TSA line right in front of me, I was annoyed. Right in front of me. I was the first person that didn't get to go through TSA pre in Charlotte. Person number one. No, sorry, we're close. But you're letting that guy go through right in front of me. Why do I have to walk down to gate number one? Why me? It's that guy's job to close the TSA line. And he has to make a call at some point. It's his job. And I was the guy. He looked in my eyes and said, that's the dude that doesn't get to go through. He's the one that has to walk down there, and it's his job. And yeah, I was annoyed in the moment, and I was grumbled. It's like, yeah, and I maybe even said something, right? Like, oh, sure, me. But that's his job. And then I got down there and I got through in 2 seconds, and I felt great about it. And I forgot all about it. And I'm, mea culpa by telling you right here. But you as a race fan to I love the term tech shaming, right? Of the tech officials. I'm saying it over and over again. Hopefully it catches on, #tech shaming. But don't attack the tech professionals as if they're, someone said, they got a beef with Tasca. No, they don't. They don't. The thing that happened with the headers were not in compliance. And we learned a little bit about that. Like they sagged. They were a little bit wider. That's a call that gets made. Unrelated to what's going on, as I understand it. And what we'll do is we'll keep on the story throughout the year. We're going to follow along. That's why you got to follow along WFO Radio. And the guy accused me of giving, softball in the comment section on our YouTube channel, softball interview to Lonnie Grimm. And I don't think that's true at all. I think I threw him a bunch of real good questions that helped us understand what is the Pro Stock Committee? What is that, right? Nobody knew what that was before that. You learned a lot from Lonnie Grimm in last week's show, how it works, what works. Let me invite you to do an interview with anybody in a position of power or responsibility. And your first interview you have with them, you challenge their, their authority, you challenge their motives, you come right at them and question their motivations for doing things and their judgment, and see if you get another interview ever. See if you ever get to have a conversation where we learn in conversations. You don't learn by, questioning someone's motives, by questioning their, what are they trying to do? That's not how it works. And I think that's honestly a big problem in our civilization right now. People are out to gotcha. They're trying to get you. They're trying to get you on the record. They're trying to make a name for themselves by asking that tough question. And then they don't get another one. They don't ever get another question. The person never answers the question. The question never goes unanswered. Lonnie Grimm answered a whole bunch of our questions and has agreed to come back because we treated the system with respect. And there will be tough questions. And I'll say just that. Like I told Greg earlier today, what's the relationship with you and Richard, right? What's the relationship like? It's frosty. So, don't tell me I threw to a softball. I will throw a softball from time to time. That's it. It's a change up because then the high heat is coming next. And I think we've been on the air for over 15 years before that. I still need proof that something was done wrong. I don't feel that anything has been done wrong, and they need to show us what is the proof, says Henry G. Well, yes, this is a process. It is a process. But see, Tasca actually won out in the end on this given deal. And that, I think, was my takeaway from the Tasca deal. First of all, Tasca's fired up all year long. Guy's on a mission. I'm loving it. I love fired up Bob Tasca. We need more fired up personalities out there, people saying things. But Austin Prock got him fired up with the comments about poking it in there, as indicated by our show last week. He was fired up. And then this tech thing happened, and he got more animated and fired up about it. And he went out and proved it. They won the Mission Foods Too Fast, Too Tasty Challenge. They ran 338 miles an hour, set a track record. He guaranteed there'll be a 340 mile per hour run from the car this year. Good job, Bob Tasca. You just gave people a reason to watch. The thing that I don't like is it's like, oh man, I really wish the target of the animation was not the NHRA tech department, was another driver, was another team, like it was a couple of weeks before. But whatever. The tech department's got a job to do, and they're doing it. And I don't know what the deal was with the manifold, but since we're talking Wilson manifolds, check out the Project Pontiac manifold. Dummy me goes and posts this on it's a PNG, so it's covering my head. But look how beautiful this thing is, right? And yeah, that has been media blasted. Look at the laser etched logo down there in the plenum. Edelbrock provided us the intake and the cylinder heads for Project Pontiac, guys. Just search the hashtag Project Pontiac. More coming out. We're working on the car. We're going to try to go race Brad Plord in Super Street. But to me, this is a work of art. This is what they do. High performance jewelry for the top of your engine that makes a whole bunch of power. And we've got an interview with him on Hidden Horsepower from Total Seal. And hopefully you will check it out. The thing that bothers me the most is that some people, when I posted the photograph of my intake manifold, which I'm super excited about, immediately started posting what I would call silly humor that could easily have been misconstrued as Wilson Manifold's cheating, which is not the case, as I understand it at the moment. But we'll see. Like Alan Reinhardt said, you don't want him to, to media blast it, to clean it, to work on it. What if we take a manifold, we put it out in our backyard and let it rain on it for 2 weeks? What's going to happen? It's going to look very different. It's going to look very different than it does brand new out of the box. It's just going to look different. What did we do to it? Well, we sat it outside in the rain. We let it get rained on. Well, you've modified it. You put it in the rain, right? We'll see where they come with this. I do understand both sides of the story. And that's it. That's all you can do. This car by Randy Lynn. She and Bo got co-best appearing. Bo Butner wins his 7th category. Amazing stuff happening out there at ZMAX. And I ran into so many WFO listeners out there. So many people came up and said something along the lines of, I work long hours. I have a long drive. I spend a lot of time with you. And even though you don't know me, I know you. And that is the ultimate motivation for me. Like 95% of the feedback I get is honestly positive. There's a lot of people that love the show every once in a while. 5 out of 100 will say something negative, but mild. And everybody's entitled to their own opinion, their own negative opinion. You're entitled to it. You can tell me about it. Maybe it's right. Joe@WFOradio.com. You can send me an email. You can send me a DM on X or on Instagram. We're going to entertain it. We'll think about it. Like, what's this guy saying? Is it right? Maybe he's right. One thing that is not absolutely locked into the way that I think about any topic. I am open to have my mind changed on various topics and subjects. And some might say, "Oh, that means you're soft." I think it means I'm not. I think it means I'm open to new ideas. And so if you've got a new idea, a new thought, an idea, a concept for the show, reach out. And to everybody who said positive things about the show, thank you. And for everybody out there that loves the show, what I can tell you is that merch is on sale up to 35% off. Oh my gosh, get yourself a mug. Get yourself one of those fine tapestries to hang on. Yeah, they sell tapestries. It's weird. It's weird. A Miami Hollywood Speedway shirt, a WFO Radio logo shirt. They're all available. Morris Motorsports shirts. They're all available up to 35% off in the merch store. The link is in the chat section. And the YouTube question of the week. Are you ready for traditional drag racing for the rest of the season? Answer in the YouTube comments. Appreciate all of you guys. Thanks to everybody who said hi out there at ZMAX. Appreciate you. Remember, Justin Ashley, Matt Hagan, tomorrow 12 noon. Subscribe. Don't miss it.
Like this short? Want to watch the full show? Then head to watchpttv.com, the 100% free PowerTube TV streaming network. Your home for the best automotive shows, shorts, and podcasts.